Yesterday we watched the England game together, and
Did he
that is
make it
where
by
we
second
begin.
half?
Surprisingly, he came on time for that.
Wow.
He arrived
Nice.
half an hour
Football
before kickoff.
matters.
Mukesh, say honestly, you read the kickoff time wrong,
Yeah,
no?
I read it as 9 a.m. in the morning. I was like, I'll just be 12 hours late.
Yeah, but no, he did. He did make it on time. He saw the full match, and I feel sad that he got to see the full match because even I felt really depressed after seeing that match because again, England, a very underwhelming performance as has been their story throughout this tournament. They needed Jude Bellingham to bail them out, but just overall, ugh, what are your thoughts, Muki? Let's
I
start with you.
It was
Your overall
depressing
thoughts on
that
that
the
England
extra
performance.
time was the most interesting part about the game. Right? Like I
Hmm.
wish I was a Slovakia fan because then I could have felt, like the hope and the heartbreak and the depression. But
Yeah,
because I was like, I maybe just cared about England a little more than anything else. I had
yeah,
to suffer through 90 minutes of stupidity and bad football.
yeah.
And then even the extra time completely wasn't exciting. By the way, it was just like little bit of extra time at the end of 90 minutes, and then like the first 5 minutes of extra time.
Yeah, yeah. It was basically the end of regulation time and the first 2 minutes of extra time, which is where England woke up and did what they needed to do. So incredibly lucky result for England. Akash, what did you think about that England performance and especially the changes that Southgate made for this game, which is got Kobe Manu into the midfield over Conor Gallagher, who was brought in the last game over Trent Alexander-Arnold. Do you think that gave England a little bit more balance at all?
I mean, so I honestly only watched the highlights and I haven't been watching the Euros too much because I haven't had the time. But from what I saw in the highlights, it looked like Kobe Mainu was the one player that was actually playing like he's playing for a Euros game. And it
Yeah.
seemed like overall really, really rubbish. And I've been following the games on Twitter and I read this really, really nice tweet which sort of gave me a summary of the changes that Southgate made during the game. The
Hmm.
tweet said that even Ocean Gate makes better subs than Gareth Southgate.
But
Um,
that is so it's so true because his substitutions are ridiculous. They are absolutely ridiculous. And he had the audacity in his post-match interview to say, see, that's why you don't make changes. Even when people are asking for changes, we wanted to keep Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham on the pitch because they are capable of giving us those moments. I mean, इतना dumbfuck manager है. And I can't imagine people were actually supporting him because England have had a good run in the World Cup decently, and in the last Euros they got to the finals. On the basis of that, people are saying that he's the best manager England have had for a very long time, and that is just absurd to me.
yeah, I feel like it's terrible football to watch. It's like really boring football to watch, and England has a great bunch of players and has had a great bunch of players for a while, and I feel like they've been wasted. Um, it just somewhere honestly it feels like some higher ups in England decided that we change prime ministers too often. We need to have one steady captain of one ship, whatever that
Yeah,
is, just one thing we should have steady. Gareth Southgate is boring. Our prime ministers are all like bizarre and very entertaining and throughout like unpredictable shit. Let's have one boring thing to rely on. I
Yeah.
think Gareth Southgate
So
is that.
apparently this was, I mean, not apparently, it was Southgate's 99th game in charge as a manager. And do you think at the 92nd minute, right? Like he knew it looked like England were going to go out. He'd already started constructing I had a great tenure and I enjoyed myself. Started composing the resignation letter. And then out of fucking
yeah,
nowhere, Jude Bellingham is like, oh man. Because I'm sure it's a nightmare and torture to Southgate also. Like, honestly, I don't think he's
yeah.
having it easy. It's like, because if someone kept me in charge of the nuclear codes or launches, like, of course, rightfully, I would get a lot of criticism, but I'd be like, I don't want to do this either. I can't.
Yeah,
No, I think we'd be safe if you had the nuclear codes, because you'd probably forget them. You'd be
yeah,
like, I
exactly.
wrote them, they're in a safe place on a piece of paper, they're in a very safe place. I can't currently
Yeah,
remember where
really.
they are, but they're safe.
Mukesh would have to do forgot password on the nuclear codes. Can you imagine that? But no, I feel like at some point, Gareth Southgate, while he was making those calculations, oh fuck, 99 games in charge and we are getting knocked out and I'm pretty much going to be sacked. I think he must have called the F and be like, okay, cool. If we get knocked out, before I leave, can we do one friendly against San Marino? Just tomorrow, let's play one friendly. San Marino will beat them, and then I'll go. And Jude Bellingham must have overheard that. Like, oh, not these guys again. Fuck it. I'm taking matters into my own hands. मैं ये करने वाला है एक अकेला करेगा and then he scores that beautiful bicycle kick and screams, "Who else?" Now that was the moment of the game. Firstly, great goal, fantastic technique, which is again expected from possibly the world's best player currently in his position at least. But the release, the emotional release that he had in that celebration, just speaks volumes about England's relationship with their fans.
I mean, again, I saw the highlights, but it felt like up until that 95th minute where he scored, Bellingham didn't do shit. Not
He
that
didn't do shit.
anyone in the team really
Yeah.
performed well, but he was very,
Yeah,
very, very invisible.
yeah,
And again, I've been looking at stats and ratings and all that. He's, by just purely statistical numbers, apparently he's had a very bad tournament.
Listen,
So I
with
guess it was a great
Bellingham, you
goal.
don't go by stats, you go by screenplay moments. You're like, what produces most
yeah,
amount of drama in this guy's life? That's what's going to happen. Because clearly,
yeah,
I can't think of any player who was so invisible for so long and then produces the most. It's actually an epic moment, right? Like, it's like it changed headlines, for the next day. Like,
Hmm.
it changed the course of
yeah,
England's manager. Like, that's how I don't think people realize by how thin a thread Southgate was surviving, how thin a thread England had to wait for 4 more years. Like, how thin a thread it was before England. Like, there would be no Kane, Kyle Walker's old news. Bellingham is not a young talent anymore. But the next time they even get a shot at this, right? So it was just like
yeah.
how. So yeah, I don't think you should go by stats at all with Bellingham. It's just like, what is the most dramatic thing that can happen right now that he can do? Let's make that happen.
Yeah.
I
I think for Bellingham, they need to instead of Opta Stats, they need to come up with a new Twitter account called
Opta
Opta Feels.
feels.
He is that guy.
But since you were talking about the very, very thin strand that Gareth Southgate was holding out on, I saw this snippet of an interview on BBC where they were interviewing fans, and there were these two like really drunk 38, 40-year old British women who were like, Southgate's shit and this is the worst performance we've ever seen and he's gonna get this. Yay! Yay! It was like mid thing. They have just gone nuts and the videos seemed quite interesting. Did you all see Gary Neville celebrating?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
felt like some glass was gonna
In
shatter
fact, I thought
somewhere because
when
he
you said
reached like
38,
dogs were going
when
mad.
you said 38, 40-year-old woman, I thought you were talking about Gary Neville only.
Yeah, the picture where he
Oh,
was yelling, it was dog.
yeah. Gary Neville does have the range to go into a very high pitch, especially when he is excited.
Yeah.
It is amazing to see. But no, but just going back to the fans, right? Like throughout the game, and I get where the fans are also coming from because we've spoken about this for all of England's previous games as well. They have been absolutely boring this entire tournament, right? And with a squad like this, with the kind of players that England have, you don't expect that because these are some of the best players that England have produced. They are capable of playing entertaining football, and they're just not doing that. Like throughout the game yesterday, they kept passing the ball sideways and passing the ball backwards without like an outlet. Like they all just look confused. And there were so many moments where Foden was throwing his hands up in the air, frustrated and not getting a pass. Bellingham was doing the same. Declan Rice was doing the same. They were all asking for passes, but the passes were not coming to them. Forward passes. And everybody looked frustrated. And that kind of carries on to the England fans as well, who we know are a toxic bunch. They are very quick to turn on the national team when things are not going their way, which is by and large what the England national team is all about. But throughout the game, you could hear the fans boo, right? Throughout the game. And I completely get that it does affect players, but these are players of the England national team. Like, surely they are the players who should know this by now. कि यार उनका देश है, उनके पैसे, ये तो ऐसे करेंगे. Like, this should be like second nature for them to deal with the English press and the English fans. Should be something that they're born with. Like, that should be a course that they are taught at the England training camp before they become like fully capped international players. So it baffles me that the fan reaction or the fan criticism or the media criticism is affecting the players, because it really shouldn't. Like, they are elite performers and they should be able to at this point take it with a pinch of salt. And then to see Bellingham give it back to the fans like that and be arrogant enough to say like, oh yeah, it feels nice when you get to give it back when you deliver. Like you said, Akarsh, bhai, wo invisible tha pura match ke liye.
Yeah. And if I think the most confused person was probably like a Slovakia fan, because the English fan boos were louder than the Slovakia fan boos. He's like, oh, which team are you guys
Yeah.
supporting? You guys wore the jersey of England and to boo them. Like, how does that fandom work?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I mean, Slovakia fans were just happy to be there. They were having a great time. They were like, oh, fuck. Not only have we made it to the knockouts, we are also about to
yeah.
knock England out, which is just like a great thing, right? But yeah, Kane got the winner in extra time. So very little time between the two goals for England, but Kane getting the winner. Ivan Toney's flicked on header was the assist for that goal. And Ivan Toney was introduced 3 minutes before full time. Southgate said that he had a little bit of a spat with Tony, who was disgusted that he was being brought on with only 3 minutes to go. And Southgate said that now it looks like we have reason to make up. Again, like, this man is ruining whatever culture he had once built, if he had even done that in this England setup, because his substitutions are terrible. And he's.
Yeah, I mean, I remember at the 88th minute or something when Amogh and I discussed like what is Tony expected to do now? Just run, like like
Yeah.
because you can't even sprint. Like it's like what is the role given to him? Like, and I think at some point Saka
Yeah.
was left back or left wing back
Yeah.
at best. I think when Palmer came on, just absolutely
Yeah.
tacticless, planless, right? And I'm like, it's England. They between them they've played in all sorts of systems, right? Between those players, they've also played abroad. Now,
Yeah.
enough players who played abroad. I don't know. It was just it's ridiculous how they've hung on to Southgate. But yeah, good for Jude Bellingham. He saved a man's career. Southgate's
Yeah.
kids can go to a posh school, posh college, wherever.
Yeah. For at
At
least
least
1
one
week
week.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Switzerland are up next, and I feel like I felt like Slovakia would knock England out. Now they've managed to go ahead. Now it feels like Switzerland will knock them out, but I guess similarly they will manage to go ahead there as well. Declan Rice had a bit of a spat with Slovakia head coach Francesco Calzona, and he was caught after full time by lip readers saying to the Slovakian manager, "Shut up, you pussy! Oi, shut up, you bald fucking cunt!"
Mm.
I'm like, bro, ये स्लोवाकिया है तो क्यों क्यों like they should not even be in the same sphere as you guys.
Yeah.
They've played so well to take you to extra time because you've been terrible, and you're going and talking to their head coach like this. I mean, like, शर्म करो यार, थोड़ा तो शर्म करो.
This is like, you remember when Harry Maguire scored against what? I think Mykonos, not Mykonos, but like some really random team and he cupped his ears and I was like, bro, like you should not be
Yeah.
Volta ऐसा कुछ team and then
No, it was for Man United. It was Macclesfield
no,
Town
it
or
was for
something
England. It was in an
in
England
the FA
jersey.
Cup.
He scored against some.
Oh,
Yeah.
was it? Oh, so then it must have been San Marino only on Malta. But yeah, I remember what you're talking about. Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like, and again, I come back to the same thing. Like, it is the result of terrible negative journalism in England. It is just the toxicity of the fan base in England that tends to get to these players, and then they react in such a way which just breeds further toxicity. So it's a vicious circle of toxicity which is hampering England's chances at this and any other tournament in this current state, I feel.